My name is Dominique Gillum and I'm a student at New College Durham studying Graphic Design Level 6. This presentation is a reflection throughout my last module, which is the final major project. Introduction to the final major project. The module required me to identify, compose and research a self-initiated brief. I initially looked at a number of briefs which included a new range of stationery products which would be created to represent individual interests and hobbies of the buyer. This was a brief that I had created after finding a lack of contemporary designed stationery relating to hobbies I enjoy. The second project, under the name of Helping Children Co-op Workforce Strategy, Resource Pack, is a toolkit to introduce a workforce strategy to support a range of adverse childhood experiences which can occur during early childhood. This brief was from a former client who was developing a new area of her business. The third was packaging design for a new range of Olivia Bonas candles using Fedrigoni paper and card. This brief was an online contest and the winner would be selected to have their designs featured on the final packaging. I decided to go with the Helping Children Co-op as my project for this module. My reasons for this are, as well as being a live brief, I felt that my experience working with Laura Davies on her nursery branding has given me a good foundation of knowledge in the childcare industries. This is an exciting project that will allow me to grow in areas which I'm not 100% confident in, i.e. logo design. I feel like this will be a useful addition to my existing portfolio as it is a popular graphic design request. Helping Children Co-op Workforce Strategy will be intended for use across early years settings in both the statutory and private, voluntary and independent PVI sector by managers, leaders and practitioners operating provision for children under the age of 5. It will also be aimed at parents and guardians of these children and the children themselves. I was looking forward to the challenge of creating designs that will be attractive to a wide range of demographics. My final outcomes for this project will include a complete brand for Helping Children Co-op Workforce Strategy. This will include logo and brand guidelines, a range of book covers to support each area, and packaging for a bulk buy complete toolkit option. Once I had made my decision on my brief, I started by planning the whole project to give me a rough idea on how long I should be spending on each area to make sure I had the final outcomes in time for the cut-off date. I created a task list planner and referred back to this throughout the project. My first task was making sure I was fully aware of what the brief required me to complete. I studied this and highlighted some of the main points to keep in mind. Once I had the main points noted, I compared this to ways I could achieve them within the project. This involved making my own notes and adding these to my task list. I researched a number of competitors' logos. Some of these logos had been mentioned by Laura as potential users of the toolkit, and the remaining are the most popular logos in the similar industry. After reviewing the logos, I felt there was a large mix of styles. These include contemporary and traditional. I found the contemporary clean and simple logos more attractive and more memorable. I went on to work on my designs. This became quite challenging because of the length of the company name. I had initially thought of shortening this to the initials HCC, but found out that this was not an option. After looking at a number of different typefaces and possible shapes and icons, I came up with 3 final designs. I then went on to research colours, and looking at colour psychology, I found that the best colour for the design was either light blue, orange or yellow. However, when looking through my Pantone books, a couple of the deep pink colours caught my eye, and after checking that this represents youth and innocence, I thought it could be a good choice for the final design. This colour worked best with the circle logo design. After presenting the logos to Laura, she chose the pink circle design from the presentation, and I went on to finish this properly using a grid. I produced the branding guidelines booklet to inform people how best to display elements of the brand. This included logo colours, icon colours, logo sizing, order, spacing, brand colours, typography and assets. I then put together stationery designs using the logo and face from the logo. I felt like it was appropriate to keep the rest of the design minimal, i.e. white background, due to the colours in the logo being so bright and eye-catching. Any additional design would be too busy when there is other information to be included and read on the document. I also decreased the opacity to the face down to 40% for the same reason. Although the design at full opacity looked bold and bright, the purpose of the documents is for information, so I felt it wasn't appropriate to leave it this way. However, the full opacity would be suitable for posters where the viewer will be looking at a distance. When researching similar toolkits, I noticed the majority of them are not very contemporary. I thought this may be due to funding and the need to use a designer, so they may be produced in-house and not very often, meaning that they might be a few years out of date. I wanted my designs to contrast these so they stand out in the market. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, Laura has had to put this project on hold. Laura is the managing director of 4 nurseries across the northeast and has had to do extra work to make the environment safe for the children of key workers. The project will still go ahead, but the content won't be produced until next year. I spoke to Laura about this and agreed that I would go ahead with an example booklet using placeholder text, but I would be unable to be sure of how large the booklets would be and what type of information would be included. I chose to go with an example booklet for drug and alcohol misuse and covers for another 3 booklets. I started with some initial scamp designs and then went on to create icons for the book. I didn't feel it was appropriate to put photography in until Laura had agreed this and needed something visual to break the text up. I created the icons in Illustrator and decided they would be colour-coded to match each booklet topic. I used these icons along with placeholder text to complete the overall layout. I had some paper samples which I'd ordered from Solo Press and Saxo Print, and I used these to decide the specification when sending to print. Initially, I had wanted to design packaging for the booklet in a plastic case. However, the cost of this would be too high and would increase the overall cost of buying the toolkit. For this reason, I decided to look into book set sleeves. To keep in line with the branding, I wanted the logo to be the main focal point of this design. To support this, the information of what the books are used for will also be included. I used some information from the initial meeting I had with Laura, so this could be out of date or may need changing when the project is up and running again. The mock-up chosen to display the final designs includes larger hardback books. This would not be the case for the final booklet, but there were limited mock-ups available to showcase the design. This would be the style I would propose for the bulk buy complete toolkit option. Overall, I enjoyed this project. I found the freedom to create my own designs from start to finish slightly daunting but rewarding. The logo itself was the most challenging part of the project, as I had never worked with a company name as long or not being able to be shortened. I did not anticipate this taking the time that it did, but I'm happy with the research that I put into it and the final outcome. Due to COVID-19, the whole project did not go to plan, but I felt like I worked around this as best as I could after losing the guidance I needed for this new project. I will pick up things with Laura once everything returns to normal and hope to have this approved in the not too distant future. I enjoyed creating my own illustrations, but I feel like I could improve on these skills with practice. Working on something that I'm not totally familiar with has been a challenge, but I'm happy with my final outcomes. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, you can email me at dominique.gillam@yahoo.co.uk. Thank you.